Yeah. This is why you need lawyer money. Gotta have about 2,500 to $5,000 in the stash. You don't need that because these cops, their words are gold until you got a lawyer who can, fillet them in the courtroom. Their lies. Gotta have some money stashed away. Get a loan or whatever you need. Get some money stashed away for a defense attorney, especially traffic violations, because they can hit people up with crazy points and crazy charges. DUI, DWI. That's a little more suspect than you think. All right. All right. So as I get ready to play this, I'm also making some spaghetti. You dig? My favorite go-to meals, that and fried whiting. I got my sauce, egg. Got the sauce ready. Check it. I hate using spaghetti sauce. It's open already a month later. I don't know what the expiration date is. I really hate. I ain't got money like that. Pandemic killed me. And normally I just throw this thing away and open a fresh one. Where's that expiration date? It should be good though, but dang. I get this like a conscious community product. Can I get the expiration date? Conscious community. Oh, there we go. Conscious community don't put expiration dates on anything. I'm good. I got a whole year. All right. Get into it. So just a little backdrop. The police officer responded to a noise issue at a party. Right. So they pretty much asked the renter or the homeowner to clear the party. So everybody's going home, and there was one guy who was saying, "Don't open the door. You don't have to open the door for the police officers." Stating the fact, like you don't just because they knock on the door don't mean you got to answer. They need a warrant. So he was just saying, "Yo, you ain't got to open the door." And that police officer right there that we're looking at had, remember that guy. So when he was urging the renter or homeowner to clear the party, clear the house, he knew he had his eyes on that guy. I'm watching him. I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna harass him. I know y'all was drinking. And I'm gonna try to get lucky on you. If you're not drunk, I'm gonna say you're drunk. All right. So that's where we at now. So the party is dispersing. The people are dispersing from the party. He's outside walking towards his car. So let's pick it up from there.
Not everybody. There were still people in there. And I was walking back to my vehicle. Officer Sutherland was now in front of the apartment, kind of where I was at the beginning. And she was just standing there watching people. I got in my vehicle. Just as I was getting in it, a vehicle drove out of the parking lot, and I recognized it was the subject that had been sitting at the table in the apartment.
Okay. Now, was this the only vehicle you observed leaving?
Yes.
Okay. You said a couple of people were leaving. Do you know if they walked away or got in a different vehicle or got in this vehicle, or do you know?
Well, I was parked. There's like a driveway at this apartment building, and then it goes back behind the building, and there's a parking lot. So I couldn't see anything. People walked out, and they went around behind the building. So I don't know where they went or what they did.
Okay. But you observed this vehicle, which I guess was near yours.
I believe the person talking to him right now is the prosecutor. I think he's or yeah, the person represents the police officer. I think it's the prosecutor. Uh, you know, just getting a testimony from him. He ain't trying to catch him out there. It's this guy right here. This is the guy that's trying to get him out of there. Dig. All right.
On your side, on that side of the
No, it
building?
came from back to that parking
This is just a testimony right now, right, of what happened.
lot.
Oh, it came from back there. Okay. All right. And so you were able to see that the person driving it was one of the individuals that had.
Right, my
been-
headlights were on my vehicle, and he, just as I was getting in, he drove right by me and kind of gave me a glare, so.
Okay, you saw that it was the defendant? Okay, what'd you do next?
I backed up, the vehicle pulled out. It made a right turn onto Lincoln Trail Boulevard, heading towards Logston Parkway or 31W. I backed out of the driveway and followed the vehicle.
And describe what you did next. What you saw. What you
The
did.
vehicle went to Lincoln Trail Boulevard, or excuse me, Logston Boulevard, and made a left turn going north on Logston. I think the total distance we traveled may have been a mile or less, and then the vehicle made a right-hand turn and failed to signal that right-hand turn into a residential parking lot at 680 North Logston Parkway.
Was this a house or apartment complex or?
It looked like a house, but it was divided into apartments. They pulled into that. As they pulled in without using their turn signal, I initiated my emergency equipment and conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle.
And the driver of the vehicle was this defendant, is that correct?
Right, Mr. Symington was identified using his driver's license that he gave me.
And what you've been described happening occurred in Hardin County, Kentucky, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Go ahead and describe what you did next as far as, did you,
So this was get back. Clearly, the police officer didn't like the fact that old boy was saying, you ain't got to open the door for these police officers. They can't kick us out. He ain't like that. So, this is retaliation, clearly. You had your eyes locked on him. You're abusing your power. I'm going to follow him home. And then it's one thing to follow him home, shake him up, and then bounce, just scare him a little bit. Like, smell like liquor in here, those police tactics. And then, get your back and bounce. But to retaliate because my man was stating a fact, stating something that was lawful, that they don't got to open the door for the police officers without a warrant, that's a fact. To retaliate, and a lot of these police officers, like, they really believe their word is the law, right? There's no law book. It's whatever commands and directives I give, that's the law. So when I knock on the door, open the goddamn door. That's their mentality. You say, nah, there's a law book and I don't have to under that law book. They take offense to that. It's like, no, screw the law book. I'm the law.
observe anything when you made contact with him?
I approached the vehicle on foot to the driver's window was down. I introduced myself to the driver. I told him why I had stopped him, and I asked for his driver's license, registration, proof of insurance. He did produce those items. I asked him if the address on his driver's license was correct. He stated it was not, that he lived at the address where we had pulled into. Actually, that 680 North Logston, apartment B, and his driver's license had an address. I don't even recall where it was, but he related he hadn't lived at that address for about a year. I asked him to exit. During that conversation, though, I did detect the odor of alcoholic beverages coming from the vehicle.
Sure you did.
I could smell it.
Man, party.
Asked him to exit the vehicle. I did notice there were other occupants in the vehicle.
Alcohol.
I don't recall how many, but there was at least one person in the front passenger seat, and there was at least one in the rear passenger seat.
I feel like they can.
There may have been two in the rear passenger seat, I don't recall. I asked him to exit the vehicle. We went around to the rear of the vehicle. I explained to him that I would like him to perform some field sobriety tests. I asked him if he...
Let me ask you this, let me interrupt you. When you got him out,
Now you can, wait, is that the defense attorney cross-examine him? I don't think that's the prosecutor. That's my man lawyer, I believe it is. Okay, yeah. So it will smell like liquor if they just left a party that had liquor, and the three that's in the car, the two passengers and in the backseat passengers and the front seat passenger, they could be as drunk as they want to be. So it's very logical the smell of liquor could have came from them and not necessarily the driver. Like what happens when a Uber driver pick up three people, right? That came from a party who want to drive responsibly, right? They don't want to drive home. They call an Uber, got an Uber there, got an Uber on the way back. So the police officer pull the Uber driver over. Is he going to assume the Uber driver is drunk or drinking? He's going to assume that, I'm the designated driver.
Out of the vehicle, did you still smell the odor of alcoholic beverages?
Yes, when I conversed with him
Stop the cat.
outside the vehicle, it was coming directly from him.
Oh, stop it.
And so you asked him to go around to the back and for field sobriety tests, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, always reject the field sobriety test. It's very subjective. Somebody stone cold sober can fail that. Okay, do not ever agree to a field sobriety test. Now, the other test where you blow, you can do that one because that's arrestable if you don't do that. Or a blood test from the hospital if you want to. But that stand on one leg, hop like a dog, always reject that. Never, ever do that. You could be stone cold sober. And guess what? If you pass that, well, first of all, if you fail it, it could take you to jail or take you to the hospital and further testing, right? They could detain you and arrest you. But if you pass it, he still can do those same measurements, and you can't use that. So you can't use passing that sobriety test to help you out in court, but they can use that against you in court. So there's no win taking the field sobriety test. All right.
And did you ask, what field sobriety test did you ask him to perform?
Well, first I asked him, had he had anything to drink?
Okay.
Normally I ask him the last 10 minutes. And he said he had drank some wine, and that was it. Then we conducted field sobriety test. And what was the question about that again? I'm sorry.
What field sobriety test did you ask him?
And by the way, it is not illegal to drink and then drive. It's illegal to drink and drive, or to drive under the influence, right? Or intoxicated, okay? That's illegal, not drinking and then driving.
Him to do?
We conducted the one-leg stand, is what it's called, and the walk and turn.
And how did he do on those?
He did not show any indicators to me that would have caused a great concern to me.
So he did fairly well on those tests?
Yes.
Okay, not enough for you to note that he did not do well on those tests?
Correct.
Okay.
So he didn't pass. So in the mind of his officer, because he's hell bent on the guy's drunk, in his case, the defendant's case, he didn't pass the field sobriety test. Instead, he did well on disguising his intoxication. Like that's his position at the time of the stoppage.
So did you make any observations other than the odor?
Again, never accept a field sobriety test. It cannot work for you. They're not going to let you go because you passed it or disguise. Remember, you're not passing it. What they're doing is, to them, you did a great job of disguising your intoxication by not fumbling or, slurring over your words, and you follow the instructions perfectly. Like you're a great scammer to this police officer when you do a field sobriety test. That's all. They believe you're drunk. And if you was to follow those directions that they asked you to do, they just believe you're just good at it while you're intoxicated, right? Okay, yeah, this guy's good at it while you're intoxicated. So they still believe you're drunk, all right? It does nothing for you.
Odor of alcohol.
His eyes were very red bloodshot. That was one indicator of under the influence. And he had slurred speech when he would speak. It wasn't crisp and clear type of a language. It was a little bit slurred. You could tell that there possibly was alcohol involved.
Okay. All right. And did you place him under arrest for driving under the influence?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you transport him back to, where did you transport him to?
In my vehicle, back to the Radcliffe Police Department. That's where we have where he was offered a breath test at that
All
time.
right. Now, the, did you perform the intoxilizer
So
test?
keep in mind
No, I
that
did not.
this police
Okay.
officer sought
Who did that?
retaliation. Followed
Officer
the guy out
Sutherland.
the party
All right.
because the guy
And
owner or renter don't open the door for the police officers, or he don't have to open the door. This police officer resented that and sought retaliation. This is from what I'm gathering.
did you note a time of observation
Traffic infraction.
that was begun by Officer Sutherland?
Yes,
Okay. Did you make a notation of that anywhere?
yes, I did.
Where?
There's an evidence card that we use. It's supplied by the Kentucky State Police, and we use that card in the intoxilizer. That's the instrument that tests the breath. And on that card, there's spaces at the bottom, and we're required to get a time off of the instrument and record that on the bottom of that card in handwriting. And you normally write observation began, and you put that time down off of the instrument when the subject arrives for the test. So you have an observation period prior to administering the test.
All right, so you made that notation on that,
If a police
on
officer
that
want to
slip,
retaliate
is
against
that
me,
correct?
over the matter,
Okay, even
so
though
far,
you did
big
not
time.
ultimately
But just waste my
give
time,
the
just,
test
you know,
or
That's correct.
the breath
pay
test
me
to the.
as far as pull
Okay.
me over.
And so who observed the
I ain't got,
defendant?
I don't mind.
Officer
It's part of the
Sullivan.
game.
Okay.
I had a big mouth.
And
nothing
were you all right there together when
pretty
this
much
was,
using his power.
when this was
But to
happening?
give
We're in
me
the same
tickets to
room, yes.
DWI,
All right, during the
we're going to
observation
court.
period?
Yes,
All right.
Never.
Now, were you there in the same area to where you know whether or not Officer Sutherland read the implied consent to the defendant?
yes, I was right there.
That money.
And did you have any participation in the implied consent being read?
Yes, when I arrived to the police department with Mr. Symington, Officer Sutherland arrived at the same time. I went in, grabbed the evidence card, put the observation time on that, gave her that card, and I pulled out what's called an implied consent form, and I wrote Mr. Symington's name at the top of it in the block that says name, and I gave that to Officer Sutherland, and she conducted the test from that point on.
I don't think I have any other questions right now.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay, so that was the prosecutor. All right, see? Then, now this is the defense attorney of the guy. So yeah, so as I first thought, that was the prosecutor.
Move the podium a little bit closer. Bailiff.
Testimony from the
Deputy Runyon, can you assist with the podium? Sorry, I've sent her on an errand.
That's okay.
Sworn testimony.
Closer to the middle, if you would, please.
Testimony.
That's perfect. Thank you. Officer, excuse me, Lieutenant, my apologies. Lieutenant, do you agree that the main function of the police is to prevent law violations?
No,
No. It's not to prevent law violations.
not the main purpose. That's-
Is it one of
Because that's what he was doing when he followed him. When he followed him from the party, he was preventing a law violation. You did. He was following him until he did something wrong, and then woo, woo, that's the sound of the police.
the main functions?
Yes,
Okay. Do you also agree that an officer or a lieutenant or a commander must follow their instructions and their standards of procedure?
Uh-oh.
yes,
Would you also agree with me that you were trained at some point that if you see someone that is violating the law, you are to stop them and conduct an investigation?
Now watch this filibuster of an answer.
well, you're given the tools to
Answer
see
the
that, and it's
question.
officer's discretion usually, what their main purpose at that point might be. Officer may be going to a call that doesn't allow to stop someone speeding. You got to look at what's more important, maybe.
But if you see a violation being committed in front of you, would you take action or would you ignore it?
If at all possible, I would take action, yes.
Thank you.
Come on, you know the damn question.
According to your
Testimony.
standard operating procedures, Chapter 5, may I approach the witness, Judge?
You may.
Chapter 5, titled General Operating Procedure.
May we approach?
Yes, counsel may approach.
Now you want to approach? Prosecutor trying to shut that down.
There's been no foundation laid for this, Judge. I don't know what it is. I don't know if the officer knows what it is. It's not certified. It's not anything, so.
This is something
Well,
I
the
got
prosecutor
from
capable
the
for the
Radcliffe Police Department. I mean, he
Well,
doesn't
we
have
don't
to
know
have
that.
that out of it.
You can lay the foundation as to if he knows what the document is before he answers question about it. If he has foundation, you can certainly question. Let's see if he does.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lieutenant, are you familiar that the Radcliffe Police Department has standards of operating procedure?
Yes.
Have you ever seen them?
I've seen some of them, yes.
Have you ever read them?
Most of them.
Are you familiar with Chapter 5 of the standard operating procedures for the Radcliffe Police Department?
I'm reading over it now. I'm not really sure that I specifically read this or not, but I'm sure I have.
If you
If
could-
this is ours, I don't know. Doesn't say where it came from.
If you could turn to the second page.
Judge, may we approach?
Counsel could approach.
Judge, I don't think we've established that he can identify this document. The officer can't just take defense counsel's word for it. He's got to recognize it and be familiar with it in order to testify about it.
Did you have a more complete copy that if the officer looks at it front to back, you can see the
Electronically,
signatures?
it's like 300 pages. No, excuse me, it's more than that. It's about 650 pages, Judge. I have it all electronic from Captain Willie Wells at the Radcliffe Police Department.
Let me take a short recess. I'm not sure if on the Veterans Treatment Court, the officer says that he doesn't know that if this is his or not, but that way, if I'll use it.
But this
as
is just the general, I'm not looking for the officer to have read the entire book.
But he
About
doesn't
The
have to.
individual
Can't
pages
even
are not
question about
marked.
it.
We don't know what this is from.
He
doesn't
can't-
know
he
what
So
says
if I
it-
take it away from him and just have him testify on it, would that suffice
If
for the court?
he knows an operating procedure, sure, but at this point, he can't acknowledge the document, so he can't ask questions about a document.
I will simply ask him generally then, and if he does not know, then
He
we'll
doesn't
move
know.
on.
Okay. If he's aware, if he's
That's fine,
trained
as
on
long as he's not
procedures, sure,
asked being asked to testify on a document. He says, I
That's
don't
how
know
to
if
save
he's
him.
supposed to or not.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll let you take that from the witness then.
So again, never take a field sobriety test. Okay, it's 50-50. Playing with fire, stone, cold, sober people feel it all the time because you're standing on one leg, you're doing all these crazy tricks, and sober people can fail it, and intoxicated people can pass it. So you don't have to take it. The officer's gonna lie to you and say you have to take it, but you don't have to. Now, when you blow into the thing, that's something you got to take or you're going to jail. All right, but the field sobriety test, you don't got to take that. So if he's gonna lock you up anyway, believe me, it's not because you didn't take it. It's because he was gonna lock you up anyway. All right, it's because you probably are drunk. All right, so they just use that just to gather more evidence to strengthen their case for the prosecutor. But let me just say this, that if you were to pass your field sobriety test, the police officers who are conducting it, they don't look at it, if they believe you're drunk, they don't look at it as a pass. they look at it as you did well disguising your intoxication by following the instructions the officer gave you, right? They don't see it as, okay, pass it. No, no, no. When they believe you're drunk, truly, you're going to jail, all right? It's nothing that it's going to stop them. They're just gathering evidence to strengthen the case so it can still, the DWI, DUI charge can stick. So you don't help them gather, evidence. And also, if you fail, they could use that against you in court. And if you so-called pass it, you cannot use it for yourself. Your defense attorney cannot use it for you to help you beat the case. So it's just a complete loss for you. It's a win for them to take the test. All right. So this is some stuff that we don't share in our neighborhoods and we barely talk about in open lives and big live discussions, but I try to be that vessel.
Thank you.
So people with a louder voice, more viewers, take this information, parrot it, pass it around. I ain't gonna hate, I don't care, educate the youth.
Thank you.
So we're doing a long recess. Let me see if I can speed this up.
Section 512.12, and stop me if you are unfamiliar with this, deals with
Okay, so the
With public
officer-
nuisances.
The officer first gave a testimony, so I see how it works. The prosecutor has the officer give a testimony of the situation, the details, to detail the situation, outline it. And then the defense attorney comes in and cross-examines the officer, try to point out the flaws in the testimony. And that's what's going on here.
It states, public nuisances. These violations are usually,
You can ask questions of the officer rather than reading from the document yourself.
Very well,
If they're aware
Judge.
of the procedures and what they're aware of about the procedures would be very appropriate.
are you aware, Lieutenant, that when there is a noise violation, one of your protocols is to have a verbal request for correction?
And they be protecting those officers.
Or the other alternative is going through a legal process?
Okay, could you
Such
ask
as
the
bringing
question
them to
again?
court. I'm sorry, such as bringing them to court or issuing a citation, giving them a warning, some type of either verbal or legal action can be taken by you as an officer of the law if someone commits a civil
That can be done on
violation.
the initial contact.
I'm sorry?
That could be done on the initial contact. I think your question said.
Can you explain?
You go back to your first question?
You talking about this section, or what are you referring to,
Your
Lieutenant?
question, sir? You
Yes.
had two questions. The first one
My
was-
first question is, the verbal request for correction is one, are you familiar with that?
Yes. I'm not really sure what you're asking me.
Just answer the damn
Exactly. Are
question.
you asking, is that what we normally do on a first contact?
If
what it
someone
sounded like.
commits a civil violation or a criminal one, in this case, we're talking about a civil one. If there is a noise complaint, okay, one of your protocols is to issue a verbal or a paper request for termination of that nuisance, correct or incorrect?
First of all, I don't agree that this was a civil offense.
It was a criminal one.
Correct.
How is it a criminal one?
It's a disorderly offense.
They're disrupting the public, right?
They're causing alarm or annoyance, yes.
Thank you.
Uh-oh.
You were radioed by dispatch.
Lesson one in court. Don't try to debate a lawyer. You did. That's what he just did, and he about to get railroaded. Watch this.
To come to 1204 West Lincoln Trail Boulevard.
Yes, sir.
You know, Watcher, I was saying that I don't know how much you caught of this, but if you're still there to catch up real fast, I was saying that everybody should try to put away, get a loan if they have to, $2,500 to $5,000 for a lawyer for stuff like this. You never know. Not something heavy to be the murder case, but to save your career, DWI or soliciting, I don't know, something that could ruin your career. A trucker, the DWI, you're done. Or, any type of driver, you're done. So you need $5,000 to handle something like that. Anyway, so there was a party going on. It was allegedly causing a nuisance. Somebody called the cops. You know how they do. They come and break up the party. They came there twice. Okay. So the second time they came there, they was a little more annoyed. They knocked on the door. Some guy that the officers can see in plain view through like the curtain or whatever told them don't open. They don't have to open the door for the police officers, which is right. They don't have to legally open the door just because they knock on the door. They don't got to open. But most police officers, they believe whatever they say is law. Like they don't believe in a law book. They believe they are the law. Every last word, every directive, every order is lawful, and you have to comply. That's how some of these police officers think. Okay. So when they said open the door, police here, and when the guy challenged that and said you don't have to let those guys in or you don't have to open the door, that police officer we're looking at right now, Lieutenant, he took offense to that. So now what he wants to do is, since he knows that the guy who said that doesn't rent from the home, doesn't own the home, doesn't live there, what he wants to now do is convince the renter or the homeowner to end the party so everybody can disperse. So he can follow that loudmouth and teach him a lesson. And that's what happened. So when people began to disperse from the party, he seen what car that guy went into. It was going to teach him a lesson. Now, I could sort of respect the fact if the cop just pulled him over, gave him a hard time, let him go. They gave him a damn DWI charge. So when he pulled him over, no, he followed him and waited him to allegedly commit a traffic violation. Okay, he's of course he made a left turn with no signal. There's no camera, no police body, vehicle camera to record that. So that was the reason for stopping him. There was 3 others in the car, 2 backseat passengers and a front seat passenger. Officer claimed he smelled the car or the aroma from the car smelled like heavy liquor. Well, yes, if I left a party and you seen that there was liquor, from the window, you seen the liquor on the table, and I got 3 passengers. So the order can probably most likely come from them since they're not driving. Logic is that if you're not driving, you tend to drink more than a driver, right? So that's where he at. So he asked him to take a field sobriety test, and I'm telling you, never take one of those. They don't work for you. They only work against you. There's only a fail. There's no pass, because if the police officer believes that you're drunk and you allegedly pass it, he don't look at that as a pass. He look at that as you did good with the test in an intoxicated, intoxicated way. Okay, this guy can do this test easy while he's drunk. See, so they still think you're drunk. They just think you're good with the test while you're drunk. So there's no pass. There's just fail. And if you did so-called pass, as this guy supposed to have passed, you can't use that in court to defend you. Say, see, I wasn't drunk. I passed it. You can't use that. But if you fail it, they could use it in court and say, hey, you failed the sobriety test, to strengthen their case about you were intoxicated when the police pulled you over. So this is the information that we need to share amongst our people, but this is not being told. We're just rather spewing the white man's the devil, the Illuminati. We can't do much. We need to get together. All of us every last Black person need to put their money together to get a farm and get a building and get a business. This is what we're told. Okay, but real information, we claim the police officers are oppressors. They're oppressive. They racial profile, but we don't want to learn what they can do and what they can't do and what we can do, what we can do as civilians in this country. Okay, citizens. So that's where we are now.
And as you've already stated, you were not on the first, this was the second time that somebody was called to that address.
Because you said jaywalking ticket. You're the second person I heard of getting a jaywalking ticket. One of the other boy, no representation is a violation, right? Like picking up the ball and taking, the jaywalking thing is funny. Again, when a police officer not offers, but when he cites somebody for jaywalking, it's 2 things. Okay, from my knowledge. One is that the person was really in the streets bugging the hell out, like doing a crazy jaywalk, but the officer was like, nah, this guy's just out of control. The second way to give somebody a jaywalking ticket is really harassment. So that's why I raise my eyebrows when I hear somebody getting a jaywalking ticket. it's like, okay, dude, you was reckless in the streets, or walking through traffic, some crazy shit like that, or that police officer profiling. Because jaywalking is very subjective, you need body cam, something like that. But anyway, carry on.
Yes. There was also a first one. Yes or no?
Yes, correct.
You were on the second call,
Yes,
and you were aware that this was the second call.
I may not have been initially when I got out there, but I learned that when we arrived.
Okay, man, come on.
I'm not sure exactly when I was aware of that.
You said that the individuals at 1204 West Lincoln Trail Boulevard were causing a ruckus. They were causing, their criminal violation was, your words, disorderly conduct. Correct?
Yeah, I think I did mention that
It was a
earlier,
civil case.
yes.
It was a criminal case.
Did you issue anyone a citation for disorderly conduct?
Uh-oh.
No,
Did you arrest anyone for disorderly conduct?
no,
You testified that when you arrived, you saw Mr. Symington through the window
Go.
sitting at a table.
yes, I did say that.
And you heard him, this is your testimony now,
I don't know why.
you heard him say, "Don't open the door. We don't have to open the door." Is that right? Isn't that what you just testified to a moment ago?
Well, not exactly like you
Oh,
said.
my
I said,
God.
you don't have to open the door.
You don't have to open the door. It's the police, you don't have to open the door. We got this, right?
You don't have to open the door.
You never heard, "They can't kick us out." That never came out of Mr. Symington's mouth.
I did not hear that, no.
You never said, "Oh, yes, we can,"
No,
to that, responding to that comment.
Uh-oh.
no.
You were standing outside the house, or were you at your SUV when you saw Mr. Symington exit the door? I don't think we made that very clear.
Well, I'm not real sure. I think I was standing outside the house. I wasn't in my vehicle yet.
You were not in your vehicle yet, but were you walking towards it? Where was your
I
physical?
was still standing out front. I was on the sidewalk. The window was like right up to the sidewalk. I don't even recall that he passed by me. I mean, I just know I saw a vehicle
Oh.
leaving.
You did not hear him say any statements, make any statements, or say anything to anyone. That's
I
your
did not
testimony
hear
here
him
today.
make any statements.
He's lying.
Officer, simply by virtue of the fact that this was the second time you were at that location, as you quickly learned, as you just said, you would like to tell these ladies and gentlemen of the jury that a second time a warning to keep quiet was issued?
Well, it was Officer Sullivan's call. I was there for her backup. And unless I see something I need to intervene on, I let the officer make their decisions on what they want to do. Officer Sullivan asked them that they needed to keep it down. This was the second time or not her, but the second time the police had been out there. And the resident came out and agreed that that's what he was going to do, and he started telling people to leave.
And he started saying, "Get out, get out, get out."
Words to that effect, yes.
When you saw Mr. Symington get in his car, or according to, I believe you said you did not see it specifically, but you saw his car leave, you followed it.
I saw a car leave, and I saw him driving it.
You saw Mr. Symington behind the wheel of a car,
Yes,
Right. So
and you followed it.
yes.
Thank you.
that's it. That's all that matters, stupid.
You radioed to dispatch, quote, "I'm going to follow this Mustang. It was the one that appeared to be," I'm not sure what this means, 2301 driving it. What does code 2301 mean?
Drunk.
And yet, you did not stop him when you saw him initially, correct?
No.
Uh-oh.
despite the fact that you suspected him of being drunk.
Correct.
You're a bad cop. You're a bad cop. Yeah, I got one more.
Aside from the signal violation, just briefly, you did not see any other bad driving?
No, I did not.
He completed all field sobriety tests with no clues,
All that I requested, yes.
Right.
all indicative of a sober person.
He did the field sobriety test correctly, but I still believed he was not sober.
Told you.
No further questions.
Told you. In their mind, you never pass the field sobriety test. That's just, they don't have a strong case. You know, the case isn't as strong as they want it to be at that point. Like, damn. All right, so let's arrest him and let's bring him to the hospital, and we'll bring him to the station, have him toxicology. I forgot what it's called when you take a breathalyzer test or blood test in the hospital at that point. But they want that field sobriety test. And you say, no, sir, they're going to arrest you anyway. Believe me, they have you take that. All right. Most likely they already intend on arresting you. So I got a friend who didn't know that. He didn't talk to me knowing that I'm a constitutionalist. I be all over this stuff. And he took the charge, has license suspended for 6 months. And I told him afterwards, like, dude, no, you didn't have to take that damn sobriety test. No, he said I had to. He's gonna arrest me. Dude, he's gonna arrest you anyway. Like, because I asked him, were you actually drinking and drunk? He said, yeah. I said, dude, you are not going home. You were not going home. They just built a strong case against you. That's all. And it worked. You were not going home, dude. If you were not drinking and you know you were not, or let's say if you know you didn't drink enough to impair your decision making, right? Or you're intoxicated, you're not going to jail. Right. But if you are actually, under an influence, you're trying to fake it, and they actually step out that car, you're going to jail. Right. One way or another.
Any redirect?
What time did you observe the defendant operating a motor vehicle, or the last time you observed him
So I believe I don't know what this is. This is the prosecutor trying to clean it up. I'm not sure.
operating a motor vehicle?
I mean, between the time they left the apartment to the time I
You pulled him
stopped
over.
him?
The time you pulled him over.
I'm not sure if this guy talking part of the defense attorney, or is he part of the defense, or is he the part of the prosecution team? I don't know.
3:03 in the morning.
Why did you think that he may have been under the influence of alcohol when you radioed in that you were going to follow his vehicle?
Well, I had observed alcohol on the table where he was sitting in cups. And then the comment that he made, you don't have to let them in, was kind of odd.
But you didn't have any direct contact with him, did you?
No, not at that time, I didn't.
And you said you didn't see, when he left the apartment, you knew a couple of people left the apartment. Is that right?
Right, there were several people that left.
Why you follow him?
And I believe you testified that this vehicle came from the back
That's
parking
the
lot.
prosecution.
Is that correct?
From behind the building, yes.
Okay. So at the point you saw him initially, he was sitting in someone's house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next time you saw him was when he passed your vehicle in his vehicle, or in a Mustang.
That's correct.
All right. And is it typical that you have to have a reasonable articulable suspicion to stop someone?
Objection, Judge. Counsel is testifying.
Looks like him a pad.
I'll rephrase the question.
I'll allow you to rephrase.
What has to be in place for you to stop someone?
Reasonable suspicion
But now he's gonna use that.
Of
of a
What?
crime, of an offense.
an offense. Okay. And so at that point, You pulled him over because of what offense?
He failed to use a turn signal when he made a right-hand turn
Sure.
on his vehicle.
And so, at what point did you initiate a DUI investigation?
When I exited my vehicle and approached him at that time. I mean, it started at the time of the stop.
Okay. Based on your contact with him, or what?
Well, based on what I had observed earlier, to include the contact, all those circumstances add up.
Those things justified earlier to the odor of alcohol, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, sir.
Nothing else in this witness?
Do those questions raise others?
No, Judge.
Thank you, sir. You may-
All right. So these cops are horrible. The other one, so I got to, yeah, there's a lot of these, right? But there's one who did horrible. Oh my God. That was hilarious. But I'm gonna show some of these too, mix them up, try to bring content nobody else is bringing, but beneficial content, stuff the community can use and or anybody can use and apply, and so they won't be in trouble from a lying police officer that's retaliating because you were a loudmouth. All right, we out of here.